Greg Emerson here. We're currently up at O'Reilly's in the Lamington National Park in Queensland, Australia, and we've just finished a great cold water session in Alabama Falls, which is one of the prettiest waterfalls you'll ever see in your life. And I'm here with Erin, and Erin's recently become a cold water enthusiast and an expert, and she's kind of famous in our group because the first waterfall that we went to, I just spent a long time explaining the breathing technique and the risks of getting in cold water and how we should do it slowly, and we all turn around and there's Erin standing on the side of the waterfall and suddenly leaps up in the air, tucks her legs, grabs hold of them and does a giant bomb into this freezing cold water. So she's now famous in our group for that. But Erin, interestingly, has just done some research and is writing a report for various magazines about some of the benefits of cold water exposure, cold water thermogenesis, and she got to interview Wim Hof and some other leaders in the field. So Erin, what have you found so far from a personal perspective for you about getting in the cold water? How have you found it for you?
I think for someone, I've had a chronic illness for a long time, and I think cold thermogenesis, for me, I certainly notice my symptoms like joint pain and inflammation. The inflammation seems to reduce. It's great for the breathing, I guess gets you in the right frame of mind. It's very mind oriented as well as just dealing with the cold water. So it's like a reduction in symptoms and also it's a bit kind of spiritual in a weird way. So like meditative. So connecting in that way I think is also really important when you're trying to heal.
I think one of the benefits for us is obviously we don't do cold water baths, we don't do cryotherapy in somebody's clinic. We obviously go out into the wilderness, and by doing that we're also escaping the EMFs that we're all surrounded in, and so I think probably absolutely there is a spiritual component to what we've been doing as well, because it seems to be, the Japanese call it Shinrin Yoku, forest bathing. We're always doing it in forest. So tell me about some of the things that what did you find the experience with interviewing the world famous Wim Hof?
He's a very interesting character.
He is.
For those who don't know him, he's famous essentially for bringing cold thermogenesis to the masses. He's got, I think, 330,000 followers on Instagram now. They did a piece in Rolling Stone on him. He's quite famous for his technique, which is a combination of cold water breathing techniques as well as meditation. He claims that it can help reverse disease. He thinks, even autoimmune diseases like we've got, MS and lupus and things like that. He thinks there's benefits with that. Also, other illnesses like cancer, he thinks it can play a role in the reversal of those diseases as well. And the interesting thing is that they've done a lot of studies on him, and they've proven that what he's saying is actually true. He's been able to control his autonomic nervous system, which, as you know, humans can't do. He's managed to do it, and they even did one study in particular which was pretty amazing, where they injected him with E. coli, and he was able to kind of tell his immune system, there's a threat there, and he was able to get rid of that. So he's managed to speak to his body in a language that it understands, and I think that's what cold thermogenesis is helping people to kind of grasp. It's talking to your body in a way that it understands, which is primitive in a way because we're so used to being comfortable. Being uncomfortable is actually really beneficial for us, but a lot of people are not comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah, there's obviously been books too and reports where they've gone to reporters have gone into review his data, doubting his results, and of course once they've done his techniques have become so enthused by it, they've kind of joined in his programs since then. Of course, Wim, I think you're right with Wim, he's popularised it, but it's hardly something new. I mean, you never want to tell a Scandinavian or a Viking or a Native American that this is a new invention. I mean, they've been doing it for thousands of years. In science now, with a lot of things, sweat lodges, saunas, cold exposures, now it's a fascinating area of my work, is actually showing what science is now revealing about these ancient health practices that we've always known as. I mean, there's been Native Americans who wrote about the health benefits of cold water exposure 400, 500 years ago, So it's something that we have done as a population for a long period of time that we have forgotten about when we moved to, okay, let's not take responsibility for our own health. We'll rely on surgery and drugs, and now we're realising that's not the answer, and we have to go back to some of these things. You also spoke to Ben Logan, a friend of ours who does a lot of cold water teaching and exposure in Wanaka in New Zealand, and runs wilderness courses. What did you find out from Ben?
Ben's a lovely guy, and he spoke a little bit more about, he does sessions actually in like snow. I know that you've gone and done sessions with him too, but he talks a lot, he spoke to me a lot about being able to change white fat to brown fat, which, as you know, is more metabolically active. It's got more mitochondria, and when we start looking at disease, we know that most disease begins in the mitochondria. So looking after your mitochondria is what you kind of need to do if you want to have a long and healthy life. So doing stuff like cold thermogenesis kind of signals your body that, winter's coming. It's changing the fat from white to brown, which is more beneficial. And there's even a link with, there's a study recently where they found a link with indoor heating and rising obesity rates, and that kind of is an indicator of what's happening with our society becoming more comfortable, and we really need to get back to our roots of being uncomfortable to get the most health benefit.
I'm very proud of you, young Erin. You have become such a mitochondrial expert now. Well done.
Thanks.
And thanks for coming along, and thanks for kind of being so enthusiastic about what we do. And I think other people come along and see your courage and stuff and get in cold water, and they get inspired by you. So thanks very much for being involved.
Thank you. Awesome.